Have you ever sat in a meeting and felt a knot in your stomach? You're listening to a decision being made, a corner being cut, a convenient half-truth being told, and every part of you knows it's wrong. There's a voice in your head screaming, "This is not right. This is not how we should be doing things." But another, more practical voice immediately whispers back, "Stay quiet. Don't make waves. You're new here. You need this job. Just go with the flow." This is the daily battle fought by millions of professionals in toxic work environments. A toxic workplace isn't always about shouting bosses or open hostility. More often, it's a quiet corrosion. It's the pressure to compromise your standards, one tiny decision at a time. It's the culture of gossip, of shifting blame, of rewarding politics over performance. You feel trapped. You believe you have only two choices. One, you compromise. You bend your own rules to fit in. You stay quiet. You tell yourself it's temporary, that you're just being a team player. But each small compromise chips away at your integrity. And slowly, you don't recognize the professional in the mirror anymore. Two, you resist. You speak up at every injustice. You become the office crusader. And you quickly find yourself isolated, labeled as difficult, and at the top of the list for the next round of layoffs. It feels like a no-win scenario. It seems you have to choose between your career and your character. But what if this is a false choice? What if there is a third option? A strategic protocol for not just surviving, but actively thriving in a hostile environment. A way to build a career so effective and a personal brand so strong that the system needs you more than you need it, forcing it to adapt to your standards. Such a protocol exists, and like so many powerful strategic frameworks, it's been documented for over 2,500 years. It's the case study of a young executive taken from his home and forced to build a career in the heart of the most powerful and ruthless empire on earth, Babylon. His name was Daniel, and his story is not a fairy tale about piety. It is a masterclass in high performance, strategic integrity. And the protocol he developed is the blueprint for any professional who wants to succeed without selling their soul. If you're tired of the compromise and you're ready for a strategy that works, hit that like button. We're about to install a new operating system. The book of Daniel opens with a corporate acquisition. Jerusalem has been conquered by Babylon, and the king, Nebuchadnezzar, implements a brilliant HR strategy. He orders his chief of staff to select the best and brightest young men from the conquered nobility. The text specifies the hiring criteria. They had to be youths in whom was no blemish, but well-favored and skillful in all wisdom and cunning in knowledge and understanding science. This wasn't a random draft. This was a targeted recruitment drive for the empire's next generation of leaders. Daniel and his three friends, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, are headhunted. They are enrolled in a 3-year, fully funded, elite management training program. The goal? To assimilate them, to erase their old identity and remold them as Babylonian executives. They are even given new names to reflect their new corporate identity. They are given a prime benefit package, a daily provision of the king's own food and wine. The best of the best. To refuse would be a massive insult. It would be like a new intern refusing a welcome lunch with the CEO. And here, on day one, Daniel makes his first critical strategic move. The text says, Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with a portion of the king's meat, nor with the wine which he drank. Now, let's analyze this. This isn't just about diet. This is the establishment of his core protocol. In a system designed for total assimilation, Daniel draws his first non-negotiable line. He is defining his personal operating system. But he doesn't do it with arrogant defiance. He doesn't make a public scene. He uses tactical intelligence. He goes to his direct supervisor, the man in charge of the trainees, and he requests an exception. He negotiates. The supervisor is terrified. He tells Daniel, I fear my lord the king. He will see you looking worse than the other trainees, and then he will have my head. This is a legitimate business concern. The supervisor's KPI is to produce healthy, successful graduates. And Daniel, understanding this, doesn't argue about morality. He proposes a data-driven experiment, a pilot program. He says, Prove thy servants, I beseech thee, 10 days, and let them give us pulse to eat and water to drink. Pulse is a term for food from seeds, like beans and lentils. He continues, Then let our countenances be looked upon before thee, and the countenance of the children that eat of the portion of the king's meat. And as thou seest, deal with thy servants. This is brilliant. This is a low-risk, short-term A/B test. He's saying, let's not debate theory. Let's look at the data. Let our performance be the proof he is speaking the language of results, which is the only language a bureaucracy truly understands. The supervisor agrees. For 10 days, Daniel and his friends run on their own operating system, while the rest of the cohort runs on the Babylonian system. At the end of the 10 days, the results are in. The text says Daniel and his friends appeared fairer and fatter in flesh than all the children which did eat the portion of the king's meat. Their protocol produced superior results. The data was undeniable. And on the basis of that proven performance, their supervisor makes a management decision. He takes away the rich food and wine from everyone and puts the entire program on Daniel's system. This is the foundational principle of the Daniel Protocol. Your principles are not a liability if they are directly linked to superior performance. Daniel didn't win the argument because he was morally right. He won because his system worked better. He established from the very beginning that his non-negotiable standards were the source of his exceptional results. For the next 3 years, they excel in the program. At their final review, they are brought before the king himself. Nebuchadnezzar interviews them and finds them. The text says, 10 times better than all the magicians and astrologers that were in all his realm. 10 times better. That's not a rounding error. That is a demolition of the competition. Their protocol of discipline, focus, and integrity created a brand of undeniable excellence. They were immediately hired and given positions in the king's court. Phase 1 of their career is a success. They have navigated the entry-level challenges and established their value proposition. But soon, the stakes get higher. King Nebuchadnezzar has a disturbing dream. He calls in his entire team of senior consultants, the magicians, the astrologers, the sorcerers. But he adds a brutal twist. He demands that they not only interpret the dream, but first tell him what the dream was. It's an impossible task, a test designed to expose them as frauds. They, of course, fail. The king, in a rage, orders the execution of every wise man in Babylon. That includes Daniel and his friends. Suddenly, a corporate reorg has become a death sentence. When the captain of the guard comes to get them, Daniel doesn't panic. He doesn't protest. He asks for two things: clarity and time. He asks, "Why is the decree so hasty from the king?" He is gathering information. Then he goes to the king and requests time, promising he can deliver the solution. He is managing the crisis. He then goes back to his team, his 3 friends, and they align on their strategy. They turn to their own source of wisdom. That night, the secret is revealed to Daniel in a vision. The next morning, he goes before the king and delivers. He describes the dream in perfect detail, a giant statue made of different metals, and then he gives the interpretation. A forecast of successive world empires. He provides a level of strategic insight and clarity that no one else in the empire could match. And what is the result? Nebuchadnezzar promotes him. He makes Daniel a great man, gives him many great gifts, and makes him ruler over the whole province of Babylon and chief of the governors over all the wise men. He becomes the CEO of the entire consulting division of the empire. And he immediately uses his new power to promote his team, putting them in charge of the affairs of the province. This is the second stage of the protocol in action. It's not enough to have principles. You must be so exceptionally good at your job that the system cannot afford to lose you. Your unique value proposition must be undeniable. Daniel's integrity was his foundation, but his skill was his leverage. He solved the king's biggest problem. He made himself indispensable. If you're finding this breakdown valuable, consider sharing it. There's a colleague out there who needs to hear that their skill is their greatest defense. But success in a toxic system always breeds jealousy. Years pass. Kings change. Empires shift. Daniel continues to perform at the highest level. He is now an old man, serving a new king, Darius. He is so effective that the king plans to set him over the whole realm. The other senior executives, the presidents and the princes, are consumed with envy. They see his success, his influence, his incorruptibility, and they decide they have to get rid of him. So they launch a classic corporate sabotage campaign. The text says, "They sought to find occasion against Daniel concerning the kingdom, but they could find none occasion nor fault. For as much as he was faithful, neither was there any error or fault found in him." Think about that. They conducted a full forensic audit of his professional life, and his record was perfectly clean. His protocol of excellence and integrity was his shield. He had no skeletons in his closet, no dodgy expense reports, no secret deals. This infuriates them. So they pivot. They say to each other, "We shall not find any occasion against this Daniel, except we find it against him concerning the law of his God." They realize his personal protocol is the only thing they can attack. His greatest strength is his only vulnerability. So they devise a brilliant, evil plan. They go to the king and use flattery. They propose a new corporate policy. For the next 30 days, no one can make a petition to any god or man, except to the king. Anyone who violates this policy will be thrown into the lion's den. It's a loyalty test, framed as a way to consolidate the king's power. The king, blinded by his ego, signs it into law. and under their system, a law signed by the king cannot be changed. They have built a perfect trap. They know Daniel's protocol. They know he is consistent. They know he will not compromise. They have weaponized his own integrity against him. And what does Daniel do when he learns that the new law has been signed? Does he change his routine? Does he pray in secret? Does he take a 30-day sabbatical? Number. The protocol is non-negotiable. The text is beautifully specific. He went into his house, and his windows being open in his chamber toward Jerusalem, he kneeled upon his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before his God, as he did aforetime. As he did before. He doesn't change a thing. He doesn't make a show of it, but he doesn't hide it either. His windows are open. His consistency is public. His brand is unwavering. His enemies, of course, are watching. They run to the king and report him. The king is devastated. He realizes he's been tricked. He likes Daniel. He values him. He spends the entire day trying to find a legal loophole to save him. But the protocol of the state is absolute. Daniel is thrown into the lion's den. This is the ultimate stress test. The moment where the toxic system brings its full force to bear against the man of principle. The king is sleepless. At the crack of dawn, he rushes to the den. He cries out, "O Daniel, servant of the living God, is thy God, whom thou servest continually, able to deliver thee from the lions?" And Daniel's voice comes back from the pit. "O king, live forever. My God hath sent his angel, and hath shut the lions' mouths." He survived. His protocol saw him through the ultimate crisis. He is brought out, and the text notes, "No manner of hurt was found upon him, because he believed in his God." The king then has the conspirators and their families thrown to the lions, who immediately devour them. And he issues a new decree that everyone in the kingdom should tremble in fear before the God of Daniel. Let's pull back from the story and extract the blueprint. What is the practical protocol we can implement in our own toxic environments? The core principle is this: a non-negotiable personal protocol, when combined with exceptional performance, creates a brand of integrity and excellence that becomes your shield and your leverage. You don't survive a toxic culture by blending in. You survive by becoming so reliably and exceptionally good that firing you is more costly than tolerating your principles. Here is the 3-step Daniel protocol you can start building today. Step 1. Define your non-negotiables. You cannot defend a territory you have not defined. Daniel knew his lines before they were ever tested. You must do the same. Sit down this week and write down 2, maybe 3 professional principles that are absolutely non-negotiable for you. They shouldn't be vague, like be honest. They must be specific and actionable. For example, I will never present someone else's idea as my own. Or, I will not participate in gossip about a colleague who is not in the room. Or, I will meet every deadline, and if I cannot, I will communicate the delay at least 48 hours in advance. These become the core code of your professional operating system. This is your personal constitution. Step 2. Become indispensably valuable. Principles without performance are just opinions. Daniel was protected because he was 10 times better than his peers. Your greatest defense against a toxic culture is to be exceptionally good at your job. You must relentlessly focus on delivering clear, measurable, and outstanding value. Become the go-to person for solving the hardest problems. Master a skill that no one else has. Let your work ethic and the quality of your output be undeniable. Your goal is to link your non-negotiable principles, Step 1, directly to your exceptional results, Step 2. You want your boss to think, "I don't love his rigidity about not gossiping, but his sales numbers are the best in the company." Maybe the two are connected. You are making your integrity part of your value proposition. Step 3. Execute with public consistency. Daniel didn't just have a protocol. He executed it predictably 3 times a day with his windows open. Your integrity must be visible and reliable. It's the small, daily choices that build your brand. When you refuse to cut a corner on a small project, you are making a public statement. When you give credit to a junior colleague in a meeting, you are building your reputation. When you calmly refuse to participate in office gossip, you are demonstrating your protocol. Consistency is key. If you are a person of principle only when it's convenient, you have no principles at all. But when people know with 100% certainty where you stand on the small things, they won't be surprised when you stand firm on the big things. Your consistency builds a wall of predictability around you that even your enemies will have to respect. Let's recap the protocol. 1. Define your 2 to 3 non-negotiable principles. 2. Become so good at your job they can't ignore you. 3. Execute your principles with relentless public consistency. This is not a path for the faint of heart. It requires discipline and courage. But Daniel's career proves that over the long term, this protocol is the only winning strategy. Compromise is a short-term game that always ends in loss. Integrity is a long-term game that builds a career that can withstand any king, any conspiracy, and any den of lions. Your first step? It's simple. Take out a notebook or open a file on your computer tonight and just do step 1. Write down your first non-negotiable principle. That is how a protocol begins, not with a grand declaration, but with a quiet, purposeful decision.